Hello, Par fans. This is Mathonical, and you're joining me for round 2 with Boros Bully. Our opening hand, while it is a bit slow, Battle Screech is one of our best cards, and we do have a Prismatic Strands to get us there guaranteed, land drops to make, so I'm going to go ahead and keep this one. Let's see how it goes. Going to start on the Radiant Fountain because we don't really have a turn 1 or turn 2 play, so at the very least we can gain some life along the way. Gitaxian Probe into Island, so not burn this time. Another Boros Garrison, so we're definitely getting a ton of life today. And let's see. At this point, still can't tell exactly what they're on. They're casting lots of brainstorms. We'll go Thraben Inspector into gain life and draw a card. We've now got a Journey ready to remove anything that we don't like. Augur of Bolas into another Gitaxian Probe. Terramorphic Expanse. I'm expecting that to get a black for Blue-Black Delver because that's around quite a bit lately. Player Seeker of the Way with Daze Protection up, and sure enough there's the Swamp. So at this point we know it's Blue-Black Delver. Gonna lose our Seeker of the Way, that's fine. And there's a Delver's Secrets. So at this point, now that we have a mana left over, I'm going to go ahead and cast the Battle Screech. We could go for the Squadron Hawk play, but because our hand is quite full, we'd only be able to get one Squadron Hawk, and it would kind of get, or maybe two. It wouldn't be that impactful. Getting down all of the birds at this point, I am much more inclined to do that. They are getting their value with their Augur of Bolas's. So they've gone through quite a bit of this already. They're set up quite nicely at this point. I'm going to go for the Journey on the flipped Delver, so that way we can start getting in our damage. Because they're completely tapped out, I do go for the Squadron Hawk play. I'm a little worried about foil, but at this point it's not the end of the world. Thankfully it panned out. I even play one into a possible Daze, and they decide not to go for it. That's also fine by us. They cast their Gush. We know they have a counterspell in hand, and there's a Gurmag Angler. So they can block one of our creatures, but because they're at 10 life, I'm going to go ahead and swing in with everything here. They can block one, we'll get in for 5 damage, and then we're going to go ahead and play some additional Squadron Hawks. There was the option to cast Prismatic Strands, so we didn't lose one of our birds, but I didn't really mind losing one at this point. So we're just going to play out a ton of cards and see what they have. If they don't concede here, I'm more or less expecting them to have an Echoing Truth. So I would draw an additional card. We do have this Lightning Bolt. I'd prefer to go face with it if possible. To save time, I attacked with all and then just pulled back the 2 Thraben Inspectors. And here they're going for the Echoing Decay, so I'm going to try and Lightning Bolt the one they're trying to remove. They do go for the counter spell. And now I'm going to use Prismatic Strands to protect my Squadron Hawk. It only gets 2 damage in this time, but that way I'm still threatening that they can't attack at this point. Alright, so now that they were scared enough, they did remove one of our birds. We do have to cast this Battle Screech, which they end up having to foil, but we'll just flash it back, no need to attack at this point. And now, once again, we're threatening lethal next turn, even through their one blocker. They're going to be digging for an answer here, and they actually ended up conceding. They went to put a Gurmag Angler on the stack, and then they just decided, well, there's nothing they can do against this. So we got a little bit lucky there, going against Blue-Black Delver and having a pretty good opening hand. Even managed to beat out one Echoing Decay. So let's hope we can keep that up. Going to the sideboard, we've got some pretty good options, namely all of our Pyroblast. So we're definitely bringing all of those in. I am going to take out the Sacred Cat, a Seeker of Way, and 2 Prismatic Strands. The last card I'm going to bring in is a Charge, because they're going to be bringing in either Nausea or Shrivel, and we do want some more protection against that. So yeah, the main reason why I'm bringing out Seeker of the Way, it doesn't have much value, and Sacred Cat isn't going to be much more use than just like chump blocking a Gurmag Angler twice, which isn't really a winning proposition. Prismatic Strands isn't the best in this matchup since the removal isn't damage based, it just kind of helps with the race, so we do want a little bit of that effect, and well, let's jump into it. Our opening hand, I do not like it, not a fan of this. Since we don't have red, we won't be able to cast most of our hand. We don't really have a winning game plan here, so unfortunately we're going to have to send that one back. This one, while it is also a one-lander, it does have a Thraben Inspector, so it's something to play. And when we draw a second land, Journey Nowhere will be great against removing something. Seeker of the Way is also a pretty good clock if it lives, so we will keep this. Our opponent is mulliganing down to 5, so that does give us some hope. Faithless Looting, unfortunately can't keep that because we don't have red yet. And a Gitaxian Probe. Alright. Plains, that's perfect. Gonna go ahead and get our Thraben Inspector down. Alright, so they have a Daze for it. That does set them back on development. But if their hand isn't that great, then makes sense. Since they have a Swamp, we're able to get this Seeker of the Way down and online. So they're starting to get out of their mulligan since they are finding Echoing Decay off of their Augur of Bolas. That can make things a bit more difficult for us. There was the option to hold up the Lightning Bolt, and possibly we should have gone for that instead of just playing the Seal of Fire. Although they would have blocked with their Augur of Bolas and made us use it either way. So here they go ahead and play the Stormbound Geist. We happily get rid of that with our Journey to Nowhere. We went and attacked with both. They were thinking of a block, but they decided not to because we have this Seal of Fire on the table. Here they cast another Augur of Bolas, and they don't find anything there. Guarding the Guildpact is a pretty sweet draw, but I'm expecting them to have some sort of counter magic here. When they go for the block on the Augur of Bolas, I am going to try and Lightning Bolt the other one. They do counterspell that to keep it around, but that does remove their creature that they used to block. They go for another Augur of Bolas, and they do find a Preordain. So they are getting their card filtering online, and we don't really have much going on at the moment. So we really need this Guardian of the Guildpact to stick, which it does. We don't really have much in the way of attacks, because we can't trigger our Seeker of the Way. Our opponent gushes, so they are definitely doing well now. Preordain, likely going to be setting up that Delver of Secrets, and let's see what else we get here. Gurmag Angler. Alright. So now we have to decide whether we're going to be going for the race, or for just holding back in defensive. Because we are a bit ahead and we've got multiple chump blockers, I'm going to go ahead and get in there. They do flip the Delver of Secrets, so I'm going to go ahead and use the Seal of Fire on that as well. We do want to try and keep our life total high. I block with one of the Thraben Inspectors, mainly as a concession to Echoing Decay. We don't want to get hit by that by some point in the future. We're able to attack with both creatures, because if they do double block, I don't mind spinning the Pyroblast to remove one of the creatures and then eat the other one. That does put us in a winning racing position. Delver of Secrets, and we know they have a Dispel backup, so the Pyroblast likely isn't going to be doing much. And a second Gurmag Angler. So things are starting to look a little hairy for the race, but we still might be able to swing this in our favor. 2 Pyroblasts is fine. Unfortunately, they do not deal with Gurmag Angler here, so I was really hoping they weren't going to flip that Insectile Aberration, but they did. So now they're in a pretty good position to try and win this race. Going to cast the 1 Pyroblast. They're going to use the spell. We're going to use the second one and hope it sticks. Unfortunately, it doesn't. So we can't really afford to take 13 damage, but we did manage to grow our Seeker of the Way up to a 4/4, so I'm going to get the double block here. They do spend the Snuff Out that we knew they had, so they're out of cards completely. And at this point, we really are hoping to draw anything. If we have no blockers, they have exactly 15 damage on the board, so we really hope that we can draw something so we can get our attack in. Squadron Hawk is perfect. This means that their only out is drawing a Echoing Decay off the top of their deck. So we're just going to play out all of these creatures. No single removal will get rid of them all except for Echoing Decay, so we're going to play them all, swing, and that way we have the win next turn, unless they draw the exact 1 card. And they've already played one, so they don't have any left. Of course, they drew it off the top. And that's how it ends. That was a good game. Came right down to the wire. On to round 3. No changes in the sideboard, so let's just take a look at our opening hand. This hand is fantastic. We're going to be able to play a turn 1 Thraben Inspector into a turn 2 drawing a card, so that way we've got more options for our Faithless Looting later on. Island, we're actually pretty happy that they didn't play a Delver off the start, because we don't like to try and race against that. Brainstorm, they're just getting their stuff online. Squadron Hawk is perfect. We're actually going to be able to take all 3 Squadron Hawks, and instead of discarding, we'll play our Faithless Looting. This way we've got additional cards with which to discard, and if they daze it, it doesn't really matter for us. Because our hand is actually pretty good, and we don't want to discard too many lands, we're going to discard this Prismatic Strands. It is a free card of the graveyard, and perfectly reasonable having it there. Since they don't have much in the way of counter magic, I'm going to go ahead and play the Seal of Fire. This way we can deal with a Delver or possibly an Echoing Decay at some point in the future. They have a Ghastly Demise for our Thraben Inspector. We don't mind that. And we're just going to continue to develop our board. At this point, Stormbound Geist is the one thing we don't really want to see, and since we only have 1 mana available, we go for the Pyroblast. Thankfully, no daze. And here we go. We're just going to get all our Squadron Hawks online, and we even have protection against an Echoing Decay. With the Rally the Peasants, things are looking pretty good here. I'm just going to go for the full-on swing. We have a few options, and the one I'm going to choose is to go for the Rally the Peasants. I do know that that's going to trade, and they're going to get back their Stormbound Geist, but I don't mind too much. There was the option of killing it ahead of time and then swinging and trying to go for the Rally, but here, if we go for the Rally, we win if they don't have anything. We're going to go for the Journey, just because if we remove their thing, it's even better off for us. And now we've got a few options with how we want to win. The Echoing Decay makes us need to use the Seal of Fire, and then they end up conceding there because they must have days to survive against a Rally of Peasants, and if they don't, then we win on the spot. So we managed to take down the Blue-Black Menace with Boros Bully. Thank you for joining me in round 2, and I'll see you in round 3.